Do you know what dyscalculia is, or dyscalculia? Depends on how you say it. I like dyscalculia. So you may have a student diagnosed with it. What does this mean? How can I help? Take a watch of the video and I'll go through what dyscalculia is and things you can do to help. Hi, I'm Tracy Ashbridge. Please like and subscribe my videos so you can find them more in the series. Today I'm going to talk about dyscalculia or dyscalculia. This is a similar condition to dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyspraxia. Can you hear the dys? That DYS tells us that there's a problem with something. Now dyslexia tells us there's a problem with words. Dyspraxia tells us the problems with practice of moving body parts. Dysgraphia, the graph tells us it's a problem with writing. Now dyscalculia tells us there's a problem with calculating, and it is specific to number. So when a student has a diagnosis of dyscalculia, which is a diagnosis quite clearly within the DSM, when they have that diagnosis, it's very specific to number. They might be amazing at problems at probability and shape and measuring angles, but the problem is specifically around number and number sense. So this needs to be diagnosed by a psychologist, because sometimes when the student has difficulties with maths, it can be around anxiety, and it can also be around that the student has just been an instructional failure. No, that's not the word I meant to use, but a casualty, that's the word I'm after. An instructional casualty. They've never been taught. Nobody taught them how to do it. So they don't know how to do it. It's not that they can't. I worked with a student recently. We worked through some diagnostic things to look at, is this dyscalculia? I suspected it was. Headed off to the psychologist. No, just big gaps in their learning. They've missed things along the way. So it's really important as a teacher that you are making sure that you are teaching your curriculum and the students are working to get that. So they can move on to the next level where it steps up one step further, because we spiral the curriculum all the time. It's getting more and more challenging. So if there are gaps in learning, that isn't dyscalculia. Dyscalculia is actually where there is an innate problem with managing and understanding number sense. So how are we going to help? Very similar to how you'd help a dyslexic student, but you do it the maths version. Lots of extra practice, making things really visual, making things really clearly understood, going in tiny, tiny steps. So I have written a program for this called Mathtastic, which you can access on the Mathtastic website, and I'll put the link below, which goes through and helps students to develop those early number skills where they actually get to see the relationship between the numbers, that they know that 9 and 1 is 10, they know 8 and 2 is 10, but then from that they know that 80 and 20 is 10. Now that involves number sense, and students with dyscalculia find that really hard to understand, and they need that modelled in lots of different ways, practically, and then lots and lots of practice to really make those skills stick. So take a look at Mathtastic if you have a student who's recently been diagnosed with dyscalculia.